That's what happens with the Buttes in the house.
Hockey, yeah.
My favorite. It's Judd's Hockey Show.
Well, welcome into Judd's Hockey Show. Can you feel it? Playoff time. Saturday, the playoffs start. Now, we don't know if the Wild is going to be playing on Saturday. That it could be the case in Dallas. But we now know that officially, not only do we know that the Wild is going to play Dallas, we know that it's going to start in Dallas for the first round. 2 games left in the regular season. The Blues tonight in St. Louis, and then tomorrow night at home against the Ducks. Plenty to get to, including the goaltending situation, which is becoming more and more intriguing. Or is it? But first, I want to talk to you about something. You know what? As of late, perhaps Philip Gustavsson, you can't bank on him, but I'm going to tell you what you can bank on, and that is North American Banking Company, which supports the people, companies, and service organizations that make the Twin Cities such a great place to live. Check out any of their 6 Twin Cities area locations. We're talking Roseville, 50th in France, Hastings, Woodbury, Shoreview, and Maple Grove. Convenient, plus they offer all the same online and mobile banking tools as the national banks. NABC wants you to feel good about where you bank, whether that's going to the branch, calling them, or sending them a message. They want you to feel welcome and appreciated. They also want you to know that while they certainly can give you all of the things that the big guys can when it comes to banking, beyond that, they also have a local touch, shall I say. And so they aren't just a big bank. They are a bank that cares about you. If you want a better banking experience, go to nabcco.com. That's nabankco.com. That's nabankco.com to learn more, or visit any of their 6 Twin Cities locations. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Again, that's nabankco.com. All right, Age, let's get to it. The goaltending situation. The Wild lost on Saturday afternoon in Nashville in sort of a weird game. They really didn't show up for the first 2 periods. They rested 3 players. They rested Spurgeon, they rested Zuccarello, and Jules Eriksson Ek, who, as you'll recall, in Dallas, took that puck off the face. So it was an odd game, but Jesper Wallstedt played in that game. Philip Gustavsson did not. Philip Gustafsson's last game was the game in Dallas, where he was not good. It is now being thrown out there that we do not know necessarily, although John Hines is not going to tip his hand, who's going to start game 1 of the playoffs. We have been theorizing that it's probably Gustafsson, just because he's the veteran and he has played in the playoffs previously, but that's much less sure right now. So what is your thought about who's going to get the net on Saturday? And I guess, do these last 2 games matter? Because they're weird. They're going to rest guys. Do these last 2 games matter in making that decision, or do you think that decision has been already predetermined?
I think it's been predetermined for a while, but I will say I bet you that decision has caused a little bit of a second thought, just based over the past now week or so. We did a show last week where this was the lead topic, and I think we both in that mindset were, it's Gus, no matter what. We're going to talk about it and why maybe Wallstedt's kind of creeping in, but at the time, it's still going to be Gustafsson because he's the number 1. Well, since then, I think, especially that game down in Dallas, it's definitely brought a few second thoughts to my mind, at least. But I still think, just because of how steady he can be, his floor is higher. It feels like, even though I'd say when his game is on, Wallstedt's ceiling might be higher at times. Gus has the playoff experience before. Granted, it's not any series wins by any means, but he at least knows the playoff atmosphere. He's been tested in it. He knows what to expect for something like that. I just think also too, I'm not looking as much into Dallas as maybe some other people are, in terms of last week's game. It was good fun. It was a great game, but on both sides of it, it was 9 combined goals. Are the Stars suddenly thinking that Jake Ottinger might not be the starter there because he let in 4? I don't think so. My expectation, I don't know if it's officially announced or not, but my expectation is Gus starts tonight on the road in St. Louis. That outcome, unless he lets up, 8, I don't think it's really a thought, because he's going to get now basically the rest of the week to just kind of get cool, calm, collected, recalibrate, and get in that playoff mindset before Saturday. and I think he's going to be fine. At this point, he is a veteran. I don't think he's quite at the age of 30 yet. I think he's 29. I think he's 29. But he's a veteran in the sense of he's been there before. Wallstedt doesn't have that playoff pedigree, doesn't have any experience there. Very, very big question mark on how he would handle that. But there is, for me, if I'm John Hines, that to reuse the phrase from the other show, I'd give him the hook pretty quick. If there's a sign of trouble, if there's shaky waters, if there's rocky roads, hey, Jesper, get in there, because 3 goals on 15 shots might not be able to cut it when every single goal, every single game matters desperately in the playoffs.
Yeah, so this is from the Athletic piece that I believe was on Friday after the Dallas game. Gustavsson now is 2-3 in his past 5 starts, has given up 4 or more goals in 4 of those starts, has a 4.08 goals against average and an 847 save percentage in that stretch. Wallstedt 3-2 in his past 9 games, 8 starts since the Olympics, a 197 goals against average and a 927 save percentage. He has allowed 2 goals or fewer in 7 of the past 8 starts. So, first of all, let me just say again too, this is part of the reason why the Olympic thing bugged me for Gustavsson. His confidence hasn't been the same since. He was a starting goaltender. He allowed that funky goal against Italy, which Sweden won, but then of course they play Finland in the second game and they lose, and he doesn't play again after that. And he came back and was up and down. He was okay, but as of late again, as the game, there was pressure in that Dallas game. I will say that. I'm inclined to agree with you completely. I mean, if we get 9 goals per game, something's gone horribly wrong for both teams.
Yeah.
But what's funny, when the season started and we saw how well for a while there Wallstedt was playing, we're both like, boy, when the playoffs come, this might be your guy to ride. And then it's like Gustavsson played well. Wallstedt had a rocky stretch himself there, and then we're both like, okay, it's almost certainly going to be Gus. I'm guessing you're right. I'm guessing unless Gus is just sieving out something terrible in his last start. And again, we don't know who's playing in front of him. They could rest Quinn Hughes. I don't know, but
I'd encourage that.
Well, yeah. And we'll get to like who they should rest now that they've gone down that path. But I still think it would be a surprise. It would be a really ballsy John Hines move. Because if you start Wallstedt and it doesn't go well, do you turn to the guy that was struggling then in your mind and who you sort of like pulled the plug on a little bit? And look, I mean, they should not make a decision out of fear, but the more I throw this scenarios out, I don't think there's a precedence for John Hines doing something that's like, oh, I can't believe he did that. Like, oh my God, that took a lot of guts. He's sort of a veteran type of coach, right? And he sort of defaults to the veteran move, which is not to panic, even though sometimes he probably should. So my money is still on Gustavsson, just based on the fact that I don't see John Hines and Bill Guerin. Either saying, you know what, screw it, we're going to go with the kid. He's never played a playoff game. He's played pretty damn well. There have been some rough stretches. I don't see him saying that, because if he allows 3 goals on himself on 15 shots, Wallstedt, right? Are you turning to Gus and be like, hey, Gus, it was your net the whole time. Don't worry about it. So it's a very slippery slope here. And I think if you go with Wallstedt, you have to be prepared to stick with him more than you probably do if Gustavsson scuffles a little bit. And to your point, you pull the plug and then say, Gus, we started you, didn't go great. We're going to make the move now. I somehow think it's almost safer, unless you think that Wallstedt is going to just play absolutely lights out and it's just his net. And Gus has his new contract, and he's got a really nice seat on the bench to watch the playoffs.
Maybe you agree with this, maybe you don't, but it feels very, for John Hines, high risk, high reward to go with Wallstedt for Saturday's game as the starter. Not from the I believe that they want to win. Don't get me wrong, but I believe there also is, whether they want to admit it, something very back of the mind that's, even if his gut is saying, hey, I think Wallstedt gives us the better chance, it's hard to, I think, for the public's perception, from the fan perception, if you do go with Wallstedt and he has a stinker, just drops a howler in game 1, it's going to be like, how bonehead of a move was that? How did you not start your number one goalie? Like, what are you doing? Whereas if you go the other route, if Gus has that happen to him, for instance, then it's like, okay, well, that was the right move. And then it's Gus that's having it. Like, it's not really John Hines' fault. Kudos to him, actually, for getting him out of there in the second period. Like, way to go, John Hines. They want to win. And so I really feel like, and this goes back to some of the conversations we've had. I think John Hines has matured, and I think we are going to be, and this might be famous last words, but I think we're going to be somewhat impressed by some of his coaching decisions in this playoffs. Whether it's one round, whether it's 2, 3, or 4, I think he's going to show that he is more capable than he looked last year when he just flat out got out coached. So I think they're going to make the decisions that they actually think will put them in the best position to win hockey games and win series and win the Stanley Cup. But everybody's human. There's got to be something where he's like, I'm still thinking, like, I can't be too outlandish here. I can't go all in and, take the 1 in 100 chance. I'd rather go with the safer option, which is start Gus.
And it's funny, too, because there is, at least in my opinion, there is enormous pressure here now, too. I mean, John Hines has never won a playoff series in a coaching career that has had stops in New Jersey and Nashville and now Minnesota. And, the Wild's going to be the underdog, but again, I'll say this. This is not, to me, a series where it's like, oh, man, if they play well for 6 games, that was great, but then they lost. This is a series where there is pressure to win. And quite frankly, you should be pretty – I mean, this should be, if you really look at the series, a very even series. Like, I don't see Dallas as being the superior hockey team. They're really good, but so's the Wild, and the Wild proved that for much of the season. The Wild has Quinn Hughes. The Wild has Kirill Kaprizov, Matthew Boldy, Brock Faber. So it will be interesting because I don't know that a Wild coach, or it's been a long time, perhaps a Parise or Suter team eventually, but this is going to be the most pressure, I think, on a Wild coach and Wild team in a long time, because I think the expectation should be you should get past the first round, and it's going to be a battle. And you know what? If it's 7 games, good. It's 7 games. Mm-hmm. But this is not a consolation of we played well. That drove me crazy a year ago. Golden Knights, well, they played better. Well, they played crappy previously in the playoffs. That's not the victory here. So every move should be, I hope, because it's more fun this way, every move that John Hines makes should be under a microscope. And this will just be one, but I mean, there's going to be line combinations. There's going to be when you split up guys. You can't just say these are my lines and they should work. Dallas is going to probably make adjustments. You're going to have to adjust back. That's the beauty of a series like this. So the goaltending right now is the biggest talking point. But as we get into it, that entire series should have numerous talking points about who plays with whom. Do you split things up if Dallas doubles down and they make a change? And just like Bruce Cassidy did a year ago with the Golden Knights, they put all of their top defensive outstanding forwards together. There's just so many variables that are going to come into play. And the one thing that you can't go out of this series saying is, well, the Wild played pretty well, but they just got outcoached. Like, to me, then there's a huge conversation. This team's too good. As the Wild continues to say, the window is open now. So, like, this has nothing to do, in my opinion, with, go get him in 27, go get him in 28. Yeah. This has everything to do with, no, you have Quinn Hughes. Right now, you have him for the rest of this season and the next. Hopefully, that gets extended. But your opportunity is right now. So, any mismanagement of the situation, to me, will be an absolutely huge deal.
I think the general national perception is that the Wild are the underdogs in this series. But do you feel that same sentiment? Because going into this, and I know I've been maybe uncharacteristically optimistic, over the last 2 shows about I'm not going to worry too much about the loss in Dallas, and I'm not going to worry too much about a stinker for the first 2 periods in Nashville and all this stuff. I still think on paper, despite them being the 3 seed and having to start on the road and go down to Dallas and losing that game last week, I still think that the edge in this series is in favor of the Wild. So like come Saturday, then the gloves are off. Then it's, if they
Right.
lose, if they perform badly, then I will tear into them by all means.
Sure.
But heading into this runway, I still think they're the better team on paper. Don't get me wrong, Dallas is incredible. Mikko Rantanen, Wyatt Johnston, Jason Robertson, but the Wild, I feel like, have a great counterpunch for a lot of their lineup. Their defense, there's still a question mark around Heiskanen. I personally haven't heard too much of an update there. I know he's listed as day-to-day, but I'm not sure what.
They're hoping for the playoffs, which means he's not going to be set for game 1.
Yeah. Which, for the Wild's case, big advantage them.
Ryan Hartman took him out.
And for the record, because that this for anyone that might take that as the wrong way, that was not intentional. There was no malintent. I feel like that was just a normal hockey play that he went weirdly in. But the Wild have a big swing, in my opinion, on the defensive side. Brock Faber and Quinn Hughes, at least in my opinion. Esa Lindell, I like his game. Not as good as either of those guys. Thomas Harley, good hockey player. I don't think he's as good as either of those guys either. The Wild should have the better defensive core, especially with Miro Heiskanen out. Up front, it's probably arguable because I think there's maybe more higher end stars together. Like the Wild have 97, they have 12. And then after that, there is the drop off of like higher end scoring, playmaking talent. But I love Eriksson Ek's game and what he brings, and he's going to match up well with that top line that has Johnston and Rantanen on it. So I just still think the Wild going into this weekend or this coming weekend now have the upper hand, despite being the lower seed, having to start in hostile territory. They're my favorites to win the series, and I will be really, really disappointed if they don't get out of the first round. There should be no excuse that, in my opinion, like if somebody says, oh, they lost in 6 or 7, and even if it was super hard fought, if they come up short, it's like, well, I'm viewing it as the Wild are the favorites. They should advance. It's still super evenly matched.
Yeah,
but I just think they have the edge.
The game last Thursday, I believe, probably the advanced metrics of that game say that the Wild should have won. Now, they didn't win, and we could talk about, again, Gustavsson's play. The defense, in my opinion, didn't play great, but I mean, I think if you look at a lot of the numbers from that game, and again, it's a regular season game, it's not a playoff game. It was, to your point, a really fun game. Yeah. But if you look at the numbers, I think there's a lot of things that said that the Wild, at times at least, dominated play. So, yeah, I didn't watch that game last Thursday and think, oh, my God, I didn't realize the Stars juggernaut. Now, Rope Hintz was out for that game. Faxa was out. He's a role player at this point in time. To your point, Heiskanen got hurt. But all of that being said, first of all, everyone's going to or has guys out. But the reality is, there was a lot of things about that game that I thought drove home the points that you're saying, which is the Wild looked really good at times, and they definitely controlled play at times. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a large stretch of times. Mm-hmm. Like it felt like they had the puck in the Dallas offensive zone a lot more than the Stars had the puck in their offensive zone. So yeah, I'm with you. I certainly do not see the Stars as favorites. They're going to be on paper by the experts, but I do not see them as favorites. And I see this. If I don't want to be a complete homer, I could call it, if nothing else, even. Yes. But that being said, I expect, and this is not being a fan, this is watching the Wild all season long, knowing what the expectations are, knowing that they acquired Quinn Hughes, and knowing that they have now put the pressure on themselves with their marketing campaign, which I'm fine with. Mm-hmm. They expect to win this thing, and they should. And if they don't, there will have to be a real dissection of what went wrong, what didn't happen. And we're going to have to talk about it. And it's going to be, I don't think there's anything where you can the series gets done and you just say, that was a great series and we're going to put it to bed. That's it. Now, could that be the case? I don't think so. Perhaps someone would argue it could, but I think there's going to be a lot of things here to really dissect and look at. And I think this series very well, Age, could be won within the details. Like the details of moves made, the details of smart plays, the details of hopefully no, and he's gone now, which is good, but no repeat of Gustav Nyquist offsides, which absolutely submarines you in Game 5 because you win that game, and now you come back in great shape to at the time the X. So all of those things to me make me feel that I do think that if you've watched the Wild all year, that they should be expected to win. I know Dallas fans and the Dallas folks will disagree, but this should not be the same old, same old. And that's the first time in a long time that I feel that we can say that. And we can say it with sort of a defiance, because if they don't win, that's where I think we have some major talking points about why they didn't win. Not, oh man, that was fun. And then that's just that.
I hope the mindset is right after tomorrow night, Tuesday's game. You're going to get 3, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you go Saturday, playoff start. Presumably, unless they get booked on that Sunday.
Right.
When you say they are expecting to win, and I think that's the correct mindset to have, but there's two versions of that. One is the right way, where the narrative, we're willing ourselves, like it's a good driver. The other one is what we've seen, frankly, during that lull over the past, like 2 weeks ago now, I think it was, and John Hines was saying they go in and they're just expecting they can show up and play however they want to.
Yeah.
So going into it, yes, the mindset should be expect to win, but it should be because we're expecting, because we do our game, we're executing our plan, we're doing what we need to. John Hines is making correct coaching decisions. He's not missing lineup matchups like on the face-off. He's getting his line out and doing all this stuff. Matt Boldy is driving his play like normal. Kirill Kaprizov is doing his stuff. Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber, Quinn Hughes is able to stay on his feet and doesn't lose an edge. I'm curious. It feels like there's going to be one. And it always seems like there is.
Tire. He does blow a tire more than any star player I've ever seen in my entire life.
It is incredible. It feels like there's going to be one moment.
Yeah.
What's the last one I think the Wild played against the Stars? There was that weird dump in, puck kind of rings around the wall and it goes off the skate up and over and in, and then it was like a 10-minute review. Did the net come off its moorings? Does it count? All this stuff. And then that ended up being, I think, similar to the Nyquist thing last season. It was like win in game 5 or 6, and then I think it's set up, okay, the next game was a do or die for the Wild, and they died. But it feels like there's going to be one of those moments again.
Yeah, there probably will be. And I think there's two questions. One, how do you respond to that? And two, how do you make it so it's a Dallas problem, not yours, right? Like it's a weird play for Dallas. Couple more things to get to before we wrap up, but I want to talk to you about my friends at Victory Tire and Auto, where they believe in relationships, and their goal is to serve customers for the long term. Personalized, trustworthy, and consistent service. That's right. It's a hat trick. A family-owned business established right here in Minnesota back in 1997. Victory has an industry-leading 5-year, 50,000-mile warranty on all new parts and labor. Schedule an appointment at any of their 20-plus Twin Cities area locations. Just go to victorytireandauto.com. You tell them the Sports Dad sent you. You're going to get $25 off any oil change service. That's right. Just say Sports Dad sent me, and they're not going to say who. They're going to say, oh, wow, here's $25 off any oil change service. You also will get complimentary multi-point safety inspection with every service appointment. Quality work, genuine care for all of life's miles at Victory Tire and Auto. Again, victorytireandauto.com. And then 3-Star Sports Cards. Once that car is all fixed up, you take it to 3-Star Sports Cards. Why? Because if you collect cards, it's a great place to go. They serve your collecting needs. They've been around since 2008. Store locations, Bloomington, Little Canada, and their newest store in Minnetonka. As an Upper Deck Diamond dealer, 3-Star Sports Cards will always have a great selection of sealed hockey packs and boxes to choose from, along with just a lot of cool stuff. If you are watching this right now, you could see the amount of cards, hockey cards, basketball cards, baseball, football. They've got all of that good stuff. Establish a loyalty rewards account by using the code JUDD, J-U-D-D, 2026. That's JUDD, J-U-D-D, 2026. And you can do that by stopping in, again, any of their 3 locations, Little Canada, Bloomington, and Minnetonka. Check out their website at 3starsportscards.com. That's 3starsportscards.com. So with these 2 games left, having rested Spurgeon, Eriksson Ek, and Zuccarello, there's a fine line here, right? Because there will be some who say, well, you got to go into the playoffs as sharp as possible. You got to play your guys. There will be some who say, you know what? You rested them on Saturday, rest another batch, or heck, if those three are banged up, which they all might be, rest them. What would be your strategy in these last two games, though, as far as potentially getting guys off their skates, unless you do believe that you need to play as hard as you possibly can in these last two games, because the playoffs start on Saturday, or as you said, maybe on Sunday?
I don't really care about tonight's game, frankly. I think they might not either. The way they
they're locked
Saturday.
in.
They're locked in. Like, there's really nothing to play for. But I think there's probably a sentiment like, hey, we're on the road. It's if we're gonna scratch guys, it's fine. But tomorrow, I know it's billed as the fan appreciation night, the last regular season game for the Minnesota Wild at home at Grand Casino Arena until the playoffs, obviously.
Appreciate Hunter Haight.
Yes,
appreciate watching Hunter Haight.
I bet you tonight we see a bigger grouping of scratches, which I would not mind. Give Quinn Hughes a night off. I know he seems like a guy that doesn't ever want a night off, but tonight you take the day off. Tomorrow you go play however you want to, and then you're gonna have 3 days to rest up before the playoffs, potentially 4. I think in terms of the grouping that was out, I'm fine with Eriksson Ek. I'm fine with Eriksson Ek not playing again until the playoffs. Frankly, I need him healthy.
I want that bubble off too. I do not want him wearing a full bubble. You can't breathe in those. Like
it fogs up, and
he's not well. And the way he plays,
frankly,
I want that. I want him. I want whatever that is as healed as possible, so he can just go back to a half shield.
It's really quick, tangent on that. It's weird to me that so many guys opt for the bubble instead of a cage in that scenario.
Yeah, I agree with you now.
And
I didn't used to agree with you. I do now.
It doesn't make sense to me because they're not. I don't know. You get this hot breath and just it stinks up in there. It's foggy.
Yeah.
I'd rather just have the cage in. You can't see as much. It's not a clear visor. You're telling me a little chicken wire basically right in front of you. Is that really going to be the thing?
And you probably grew up wearing a cage, right?
Everybody's worn one at one point in their life. Nobody's gone full bubble since mites. No,
correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't and a cage would do this as well? But I would guess a bubble would too. Don't both of them make it hard to see peripherally?
No, I don't think so. Maybe the bubble is a little better for just because it's this, it
just
clear.
Comes around though, so it's you don't have the clear visor doesn't. It's got more of a sight line. I felt but
yeah, it does, but I don't know. It's always been weird to me that every pro comes out of the locker room with that versus going with the cage, which is always.
I saw a guy. Was it with the Sabres on Saturday? Somebody was wearing the cage.
Oh. Okay, well then maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention.
Yeah, somebody was wearing a cage, and I thought, that's not a bad idea, probably.
I'm fine with Eriksson Ek being out. Spurgeon, we know that he has kind of been this past 2 weeks. He's had some stuff that he's been dealing with. I'm fine with him sitting out one more day, and then getting back in the lineup if he feels 100% tomorrow. Let's see, Zuccarello. I'm curious. Do you think he's been dealing with something that's been nagging him? Because we talked about it where he's been still present on that top line, but it doesn't feel like he's been the normal Matt Zuccarello. I don't think his play has been less than, but it feels like he's taken a step back versus Hartman and Kaprizov because those two have just been so on fire that he's kind of been pushed to the background. I wonder if he has been dealing with something, maybe tonight rest, tomorrow rest, and then potentially now that it's been about a week or so, he's going to be 100% for the playoffs and we see a rejuvenated Matt Zuccarello. I'd be fine with a couple more call-ups though. I'm fine with seeing Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber potentially out tonight. Get the whole band out tonight, put them back in tomorrow for one last tune-up, and then we go on the weekend.
And they on Sunday they called up Hunter Haight and Matt Kierstead, who's a defenseman. So they're clearly planning on another defenseman being out. And I would not. I mean, heck, I wouldn't mind seeing tonight Quinn and or Brock. Now, the only thing to your point, though, is Spurgeon, Zuccarello, and Eriksson Ek. And we know that the answer to Eriksson Ek is yes, but The real question is, were those three guys sat because they're literally dealing with something? Because like in some ways, but I mean at this point in time, everyone is dealing with something, and so I do not mind at all. I saw some tweets, and not surprising, on Saturday about the Predators game, and what happened is 2 bad periods. It was 2 bad periods, but
It was.
I'm not going to get worked up about that. I don't know that you're going to lose. I don't know with the time off that you're going to have between the end of the regular season and the start of the playoffs on the weekend. I don't know that there's some big edge that you're going to take in. Now, if you played your entire roster and they played crappy, that might be that's not good. But if you're resting guys and you're trying guys at different places, quick tangent as well.
Yeah.
I'll give you one. So here's the one I love, okay? And this has not become accepted. I hear this constantly now. Well, what you see coaches doing is they're juggling things up so that they can get an idea of who can play with whom in the playoffs. If guys get hurt, who can play with whom?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I have no problem with that, actually. And that makes perfect sense. But on Saturday, they put Tarasenko with Kaprizov, and it didn't work. It didn't work for 2 periods or something. So they separated them. Hold on a second here. Hold on a second. So you're trying to see how guys' chemistry works. And now, and so you're trying to give them runway to work together. But now you're telling me if it doesn't work within the first 2 periods, that's it. They don't work well together. I don't get that one. Like Tarasenko made some passes that Kaprizov, and look, Kaprizov ordinarily works with like Zuccarello. He knows what, he knows what that dude has for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you're telling me if the Tarasenko Kaprizov, it didn't work. It didn't work for 2 periods. We got to separate them. Then what's the point? Like, so you're telling me if it's not instantaneous, like if they don't work well together instantaneously, that is good. So that's my tangent. That's my side thing.
6 minutes and 23 seconds of ice time that Kaprizov
It didn't work.
Tarasenko line. 6 minutes and 23 seconds to gauge. I can't do that. Can't do that. That's not.
Then what's
that's not
the
even an
point?
option. At that point, like I understand you probably want to still win the game. I mean, I still would have loved to see them win. Don't get me wrong. I want the Wild to win every single game if it's possible. But you're not playing for much. There's not much you can gain by beating the Nashville Predators.
And you're experimenting.
If you're experimenting,
then experiment.
Fully put on the lab coat, get the goggles on, experiment.
Yes.
And that's where you put Kaprizov and Hartman and Tarasenko, and you say, get out there again and again,
Right.
again,
Right.
again.
Yeah, Herbie, you're gonna
let's get a full game. Like 6 minutes and 23 seconds to realize Kaprizov, and probably at one point this idol that he had as a kid watching back in Russia, watching overseas, and it's like, oh God, look at how good this guy is. I can't wait to get to the league and be able to play with him. You're pulling the plug after 6 minutes. Come on, John.
I don't get it. All right, we are done. But plenty more throughout the week. As I said, Monday night tonight, Wild and the Blues in St. Louis. Tomorrow night, the Ducks and the Wild at Grand Casino. And then we'll have plenty of preview shows as well going into the playoffs, which will start. Well, the playoffs are going to start on Saturday. As AJ said, we don't know for sure yet. And we probably won't know until late Tuesday or early Wednesday when that series against the Stars will start. But rest assured, post-game shows as well throughout the playoffs. Lots of good stuff. He's AJ, I'm Judd. We will talk to you soon on Judd's Hockey Show.